Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be taking a look at this 25 cal Reximex Daystar, or the Pretensis as it's known in other areas. This review will be useful to most of you interested in the Daystar, but the accuracy testing aspects are pretty specific to the Canadian market, with this particular gun having been detuned from the factory to shoot below 500 feet per second, or non-PAL rated as we sometimes call it, the PAL being our possession and acquisition license for non-restricted firearms here in Canada. I ordered this version specifically for a few different reasons. One, I wanted to illustrate to Canadian shooters that it is possible to get guns capable of humane pest control and small game hunting without having your firearms license. I mean, 22 cal sub 500 guns are also capable, but the margin for error is absolutely tiny, as is the effective range of those guns. 25 cal is a much better bet. I do encourage you to get your firearms license if you don't have it though. It's absolutely awesome, but as a matter of function, it's not absolutely necessary. 2. I already have other full-powered 25 cal PCPs, and I enjoy shooting sub 500 25 cal. You're probably thinking that the Daystar has adjustable power, so I could just have gotten the full-power gun and shot it on a lower setting, and while that's true, it wouldn't help me illustrate the effectiveness of these factory T-tuned guns, and it would just be another factor to consider when pellet testing. I'm a fan of simplifying things whenever I can. 3. It's less work to order a non-PAL rated gun. Not much less, mind you, but it's still less. You have to send in a copy of your firearm license when you buy a firearm rated airgun, and then the seller needs to confirm your license and the transfer gets logged into your record. None of the particular information about the gun in question gets recorded though, just the fact that you had something transferred into your name. However, the seller is required to record all relevant information about the sale and hold onto it for a minimum of 20 years in case the government requires it. And I don't know, the less of that the better I think. My business is my business. And 4, if the gun doesn't perform well as a detuned rifle, it could always be tuned up down the road. But a little foreshadowing here, it won't be getting tuned up down the road. That brings me to my next disclaimer. I bought this gun with my own money. It wasn't provided to me for this review. However, I do currently have a working relationship with Canada Shooting Supply, where I got the gun from. And as far as I know, that's the only shop in Canada it can be found for sale. There isn't anything I can do about that. However, I always do my best to be transparent and honest in these reviews. If you ever have any question about that, feel free to call me out. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into it. The gun is absolutely gorgeous. The Turkish walnut that is used in the rather unique looking stock is second to none. That being said, while the finish is nice, it's definitely not perfect. In typical Turkish fashion, the details leave a little to be desired. But for the price, the minor imperfections can be easily forgiven. The rest of the build is solid and feels well made with an overall length of 41.3 inches. I have it topped with a larger 6-24 by 50 Axion scope, and with that the gun weighs in at exactly 9 pounds. Now, that might sound heavy to some people, but the gun truly doesn't feel like it weighs 9 pounds, and it has a very nice in-hand feel to it. By comparison, my Artemis M11, topped with a similarly large scope, also comes in at 9 pounds, but that gun feels like an absolute tank, both in weight and in-hand feel. Maybe that difference simply comes down to the stock on the Daystar being much more svelte and slimly contoured than the M11. I don't know. Either way, the Daystar doesn't seem like it weighs that much. There are sling mounts on the front and back of the stock, and up front you'll also find a mounting point for an included bit of Picatinny rail, which I opted not to use on the gun due to the fact that I don't like how it's affixed from one central point only, and I didn't want to snug it up tight enough to prevent possible rotation and in the process mar the stock unnecessarily. The buttstock also has an adjustable cheek rest, which is a nice touch. Although it isn't a feature I find particularly useful, I know that many people enjoy it. The trigger is adjustable, but I haven't played with it yet. I found it to be acceptable right out of the box, and since you have to remove the trigger shoe and safety to get the stock off just to adjust the trigger, I figured I'd worry about it at a later date. And speaking of the safety, it's just a simple push-through type and it works well. I like that. There's no need to get fancy on a safety. The breech is the same as the one found on the Tormenta, but I feel like the side lever on the Daystar is just a tad more stable and responsive. Not that there is anything wrong with the Tormenta, there isn't, it's just an observation. The top of the breech has that cool dual rail that I love, sporting both Picatinny and dovetail. And up front near the pressure gauge, there's a power adjuster that I haven't bothered moving just yet. It's set at the highest position, and I cronied it at 250 bar with 27.47 grain pellets, and it hit 470 feet per second, which is a very useful 13.47 foot-pounds of energy. I haven't done a full shot string with it just yet, as I need to replace my chronograph. It's had one too many trips stuffed inside my backpack and has started acting up on me. But as far as shots go, I've only had the gun out a few times now, and each time I shot it from 250 bar down to 200, and that got me over 25 shots each time. There are definitely many more useful shots below 200 bar, and I have no doubt that the gun will get its claimed 70 shots from 250 bar down to 100 bar. I just haven't had the need to shoot it that low yet. It comes with two 10-round mags that are the type that most of us are familiar with by now, and that's a good thing in my opinion, less of a learning curve. The barrel is 22.8 inches and is capped with an air stripper that covers its 1/2 UNF threads. I'm not convinced that an air stripper will have any effect on this particular configuration, but it looks great. Maybe I'll do some accuracy testings at some point with and without air strippers on several different lower powered guns to see if there is any effect at all. And now we come to the end of the air tube where the fill port is. I did expect this gun to have a similar fill port as the Tormenta. It does not. When I first popped off the nicely made fill port cover, I was excited. A male Foster fitting, I thought. Awesome. No need to keep tabs on another fill probe. Just pop the female quick disconnect on and I'll be set. I quickly realized, though, that I was in fact not set, because the fitting on the gun isn't the standard size that we all use. And so I had to remove the quick disconnect off my compressor to attach the included one to fill the gun. I'm going to have to make an adapter to fill this gun with a regular fitting, as it's definitely too much of a hassle to swap quick disconnects just for one gun. That's an unfortunate little detail that could easily be rectified by Reximex, and it is in fact the only thing that I don't like about this rifle. It's not the end of the world, it's just annoying. Okay, let's get shooting. Before we get to the groups, let's talk about one of the more desirable aspects of low-powered guns. Noise, or lack thereof. I've often heard people talk about backyard-friendly guns, but I've never actually looked into what it would take to qualify as backyard-friendly. So I looked it up. And most people say that 65 to 75 decibels would constitute a backyard-friendly report. After testing a few different guns myself, I'd have to agree 65 decibels is definitely backyard-friendly. And you could likely get away with 75 to 80 decibels depending on the quality and distance of your neighbors. This particular gun was measured at an average of 85 decibels at 250 bar, so while it's at the high end at its highest pressure, it's still relatively quiet. And as you shoot it and the pressure drops, the report will only get quieter. If you regulate the gun at a lower pressure than 250 bar, or if you only pumped it up to about 220, you would probably have a legitimately quiet gun. Right now, some of you are thinking, just pop a moderator on it. And I'd love to, but they're illegal here in Canada, even on air guns, so we have to work with what we've got. All the groups in this video are at 20 meters and shot out of a single shot tray. The footage will be sped up to save time. Our first group is shot using 27.47 grain Barracuda Hunter pellets from H&N, and it's only 4 shots, because even though I thought for sure it was 5, it wasn't. And I didn't realize until I was reviewing the footage later in the day that I was 1 shot short. That's okay. This is just to get a rough idea of the gun's capabilities. We'll do further pellet testing videos with it in the future. It's not a horrible group by any means, and I'm sure that given more time, I could tighten these pellets up a bit. For our second and final group, we have 5 shots of 20.06 grain Field Target Trophy from H&N. And because these guys are a little bit smaller than your average 25 cal pellet, they didn't quite fit properly in the single shot tray and kind of slopped around in there. Just something to be aware of. That aside, I couldn't be more pleased with this group. I'm planning to do more ammo testing with this gun, but realistically, if you could continue to get these pellets to group like this, you would be just fine for anything that this gun will be used for. It's not a HFT rifle, and I have no expectations of it ever doing a single hole group of 50 meters. And there you have it, the sub 500 feet per second 25 cal Reximex Daystar, an absolutely stunning looking rifle at an affordable price that shoots well, and no license required in Canada. It's extremely hard to argue against this gun. The fill port thing is annoying, but nothing in life is ever truly free of annoyances, and it really isn't a huge deal when you weigh it against how fantastic the rest of the gun is. Let me know down in the comments section if you have any questions or comments about the gun, and feel free to like this video or subscribe to the channel if that's the sort of thing that you're into. Thanks for watching and have a great day. A post-credit scene? Why not? If Marvel can do it after every single movie, surely I can sneak one in here and there. I also tested slugs in this rifle. I have no intention of shooting slugs through it, but curiosity always gets the better of me, and I'm sure that some of you are curious about this as well. Here we have a 5-shot group of 34 grain slug HP by H&N at 20 meters. Unfortunately, I started filming after the first shot, but that should still work for this demonstration. The first and second shots are a little off to the right, but the next 3 shots are all pretty spot on. If I had to guess, I'd say that I pulled the first 2 shots. I was extremely tired by this point, and sort of just rushed through this group. It's definitely interesting, and though I doubt that 34 grain slugs will ever be the ideal ammo for a sub 500 gun, let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see this investigated further.